and welcome back. This is Hope Roski with The Wedding Show. Well, I have such a wonderful surprise for you. Not only do I have my neighbor, Jeromie Hansen, on here, who is the co-owner of The Painted Table, but I also have his head food and beverage manager, correct? Director, okay. Excuse me, Zack Paulson here as well. And there are some amazing things happening now with The Painted Table because there are expansions going on, new areas as the business is growing. So why don't you tell the audience about your event planning and what's happening with The Painted Table?
Well, once again, thank you so much for having us on the show.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm so glad there's a resource and an outlet like this in our town. We're so fortunate.
Yes.
Especially at The Painted Table, we love our industry. We love what we do. We're so passionate about hospitality and creating magical events for our clients. And, we travel all around the valley. But what's going on here in town is so much. With COVID, happening to us, we really started to pivot in so many directions. Mm-hmm. So, as you know, the wedding industry was just non-existent, and it was very frightening for about a year and a half. Oh. And we were just really trying to figure out how we could survive.
And you know what? Not only did you survive, you survived and then some, which was great because during that time you really got innovated. So why don't you tell us about some of these neat innovations you have going on now?
Sure, I'd love to. So the Painted Table started off as this very small little private chef company, doing little in-house parties, and this and that, and we started doing weddings and started gathering corporate clients. Now we're doing festivals. This year we have World Surf League again with Kelly Slater's Surf Ranch in Lemoore, catering to 3,500 people in this massive ranch. Middle of Lemoore, there's this magical wave pool that just attracts celebrities from all around the world, and these are opportunities that that are happening to local companies, mm-hmm. Because we are dedicated to our industry and we provide an excellent high level of service, amazing food, and amazing hospitality. And it's amazing that the unique opportunities we have in the Valley to provide these kinds of services. With us, we are very dialed into our continuing education. We focus on what's going on in the world with with upcoming trends, current trends, bringing those trends into reality for our clients here in town.
And I think that's so important because people look at Fresno as maybe, just more small town, but what you're doing is you're putting the name on the map for Fresno with event planning and weddings, which I think is just something that we've needed. And one of the things that I know that we had discussed before is the dynamic of food and beverage. And Zack, your background is extremely impressive. Can you tell the viewers about your background? Because I think they're going to want to hear this.
So I did grow up in the Valley, went to, actually, Rod and Jer were my guardian angels into the food industry and taught me a lot with the basics of my culinary background. Well, then I went to a lot of different fine dining restaurants within the Valley, and then in 2014 traveled to Orange County and worked with the Walt Disney Company for about 7 years. And recently came back to the Valley, and now food and beverage director with the Painted Table once more to create great storytelling with food, not only for regular food, but for bartending and drinks and all consumables to create storytelling for your events.
And I like how you use that adjective about your food as storytelling. So you being the creative person that you are, tell me about some of your signature dishes or even beverages that you offer. and that you can create, because there are a lot of couples out there going, I wonder what special story he's going to tell for us.
Get ready to get hungry.
Get ready to get hungry. Okay, I'm salivating here.
Well, the big thing, and it's always kind of funny to try to figure out the dish and the cocktail of choice, when really it's kind of like music. What is something that you are into and what makes you feel good? And especially with the industry that we're in for weddings and a bit more caterized menu for our couples out there, it's really what, again, makes you feel comfortable, how adventurous you can be. Because we can go as far as doing Osetra caviar with champagne and doing different things of adventurous things like duck and octopus and things of that nature, but that doesn't sound really good for a wedding, right? So having something that is more seasonality and valley grown, things that can be noticeable but still new by what we do with regular ingredients, and making the simplest ingredients actually be more profound than what they originally would be.
That sounds amazing. And I like how you're using things from the valley that we grow here. It's kind of like that farm to table with some creative storytelling in the mix. So I think that's great. Speaking of which, and one of the things I didn't get to address with you is that you had mentioned that you've been in the valley for a while, but you also have your co-owner with you as well, and that's Rodney. How did you two even get into this business? Because that, not many people say, well, I'm going to go into event planning, wedding planning, specifically go that direction. How did you two formulate into that?
Well, in a nutshell, I was in the dental field for many, many years. We lived in Seattle. I did pre-dental school. Rodney went to culinary school.
You have a great smile, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Look at that smile. It just glows.
Rodney went to culinary school. He graduated with honors, mastered in pastry arts. He was winning all these awards in Seattle. He was winning Future Chef of Seattle. He won best desserts in the entire city 2 years in a row for Dilettante chocolates. Now they're a national brand. He needed help managing at the restaurant. I quit my job. I went to go work for him. Fast forward to we decided to move from Seattle to Visalia. Rodney was pulled out of this culinary mecca called Seattle to Visalia, and it just wasn't happening. He could not find a job, which was just so frustrating because, so he was a server. And that, of course, was not what he was trained to do, and so anyway, we ended up coming across somebody who was selling a bakery. We bought the bakery. The bakery is called Magical Cakes, Mystical Teas. People remember that because we were just creating these magical cakes, these little mini cakes. We had that particular business for a few years. We ended up selling it to a coffee house, and we started catering with a lady in Visalia who was a client of ours through the bakery. And we realized, hey, we could do this. This is a really good idea.
And the brainchild
began. It was just like, it was just rolling around our head like, wow, we could really do this on our own. She had other side projects going on, and we branched out and we started catering for our family. We started doing burger bars for local graduates in the Carruthers area. We were doing that for a while. We also opened up a walk-up espresso cart. Did that for a while. Started selling lunches and breakfast. Started selling out. And we're like, okay, I think we got something here.
And what I like is that you continually reinvented yourself. That's
Yeah.
a word that comes up quite a bit. When we had Keenan on just prior to you, it's all about reinventing and getting to where you want to be and where you need to be. And I think that's so very important.
And staying humble and really listening to what is needed to fill that niche in the market. And really, honestly, we had no idea what we were creating. We were like, wow, this could really be a business. We're really good at this.
Right.
Really good at making people happy and creating memorable, stories with our food and with our service, and collecting other individuals who. This thing that I do is I always hire people who can do this better than I can. Listen to that, people. Mm-hmm. Hire people who can do it better than you can. That is the key to success right there. There are people who are creative and hungry that just don't have those outlets to create on their own, but they need outlets.
And you've given them the platform to do that. And,
yes.
And we take a look at somebody like Zack, who was working at Disneyland. I mean, what a platform that must have been. And you're here and you're creating and you're doing big, large-scale events here as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's amazing. How do you, we talk about planning for the big day. How do you basically help a couple comes in and says to you, we have a date, that we want to get married, because so much of it is when they can book with you and have the reception and do all of that. So I know there's a great deal of coordinating. So how does that all unfold for a couple?
Well, we call it our we are from A to Z. The moment that we get the phone call, we start asking questions like, sometimes we don't even talk about their event. We want to know. We want to know, like, how did it all happen? Where did you propose to each other? How did you meet? And sometimes we'll talk about the food and stuff, but we really want to get to know our clients, because really the relationship is really important to us.
And I think that's and that's what's going to make a couple feel at home and at peace and have that sense of security, is knowing that you care and that you're taking the time to get to know them as a couple.
Yeah, we're not really there are clients who it's a one transaction type of situation, but we really want to be the caterer for life.
That's a good way of
we
putting
want
it.
to take care. We want to take care of our clients. When they have their first child, when they have their anniversary. We send them birthday cards.
Or renewal vows.
Yeah. Divorce party. Whatever.
Oh, no. This is the wedding show.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Divorce court. That's another.
yeah, that's another
Okay.
show. But the relationship part is super important to our company.
Right. And I think that's, and coming in and talking about the food and beverage, especially with food allergies and what people can and can't have, how do you accommodate people with that?
We are the go-to caterer for dietary restrictive clients. It is absolutely, we call them, there's true, for example, celiac. There's true celiac disease, and that's very frightening.
Yes.
Especially for a caterer. But there are also selectarians who will select their dietary
lifestyle choice.
Lifestyle choices. Yeah.
Sure. So tell me about some of the things that you might offer to somebody, let's say, who has a nut allergy. So what are some options, creative options at a wedding that everybody can enjoy, because they don't just want to exclude, they want to be able to integrate. So what are some things that people can do that way?
So if not nut allergies, there's so many lists of allergies that are coming aboard. Corn is a new one that we're starting to see a lot.
Really? Wow.
And we get to have the opportunity to dive into other different alternatives that aren't a restriction just for maybe the 2 guests that you might have on your list, but something that can be catered for the entire event, that you really aren't missing out on the product. If it is a all plant-based menu, we can do absolutely anything possible to create plant-based options that you won't be missing out on the meat aspect of your menu. And especially with non-dairy and other things like that, there's so many amazing ingredients out there that we can take upon ourselves to create these great experiences for a menu platform that don't have to hinder your guest experience.
Well, I know that we are getting close to wrapping up. So if you could leave any words of wisdom with our viewers out here, what would you share with them about why the Painted Table is the place to go for the wedding experience, because we are fortunate enough, we're going to be having them back often, so.
You know, I think what's important for those that are seeking a caterer specifically, but we're more than a caterer, we're a one-stop
Yes.
shop. You know, we're catering, we're event design, we're event planning, we're a day of coordinating. We're also a full floral business, full rental company. So what I would say, some advice is really ask those tough questions. If a caterer is so dialed into and instantly ask you, well, what's your budget? What's your budget? That's important. But I think that building a relationship and a level of trust with your vendors, that would be where I would really, really focus, is trust, and really make sure you have a connection.
I think that's important to know. So if people want to get in touch with the Painted Table, I mean, I know you have different social media platforms, and I know you're also expanding. If we have any watchers down in the Palm Springs area, you're expanding down that way too, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
We are doing fundraisers in Palm Springs. Rod and I are, kind of looking at little, we're not spring chickens.
So they may be coming your way.
Yeah,
we don't know yet.
Here we come, Coachella.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So how can they what's the best website that they can get in touch with?
www.paintedtablecatering.com. You can also call us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 559-443-7199. We typically don't answer the phones on the weekends because we're working, but we have a virtual receptionist that is there, and we can transfer calls. You can get connected. We're always reachable.
Well, Jeromie Hansen and Zack Paulson, I'd like to thank you so much for coming on today to the wedding show, and I'm looking forward to having you come back and meeting more people from the Painted Table, because I think they're going to have a great deal in store for our viewers. I would like to take this opportunity to wish everybody a happy Tuesday, February 7th, because I'll see you next week when it's Valentine's Day. Yes, everybody, hearts up.
Hearts up.
Hearts up. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week.